I, 17 male, have been saving for university and future spending since I was legally allowed to. I've taken positions as a lifeguard during summertime and as a part-time waiter the rest of the year, striking a balance between my work life and student obligations. University is not very expensive. I'm not from the US, but I want to pay it on my own, and I have saved for the first 2 years. I put the money in my bookshelf in an envelope. My father remarried with my stepmom 5 years ago, 53 male and 50 female. They always talk about traveling and spend free time looking at videos of other cities. They have always talked about going on a romantic trip to Paris. 2 weeks ago, they finally accomplished their objective and went to Paris. They spared no expense, flew on business class, stayed at a very nice hotel, and booked top-class restaurants. Overall, they had an amazing time. Yesterday, I went for some money for a set of headphones, when I noticed part of the money was gone. I quickly ran to my father and asked him if he knew about the money. He told me that they took it for the trip to Paris, since they could manage my money and belongings as I was a minor, and both have full custody of me. I stormed off and went for a walk. Bear in mind, they have stolen around 3,000 pounds. At night, they came to me and offered to return me the money, provided I pay for rent and food from then on. They claimed that since I wanted to be independent, this has to be at every aspect. I was beyond shocked they had the nerve of saying such things. I quickly packed a backpack and now I'm staying for a few days with my girlfriend. They are bombarding me with texts saying I am being very immature, and therefore that money was reasonably managed by them. My father's family are telling me that I'm being very unreasonable, that I should be understanding as they have raised me and invested a lot of money in me. However, most of my cousins side with me. Now I'm in no contact with all of them. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They stole 3,000 euros. There is no justification for that. I think it's disgusting they are claiming he's too immature to manage his own money, while he's a teenager that saved several thousand euros for college, while the mature adults blew it on a trip to Paris. Not the a-hole. This is actually called theft. Go to the police and file a police report. Bring evidence of it. Bring your money. Let them tell the police why they took it. Also, ask the police to contact the local CPS. Not the a-hole. Sue them. You're under no requirement to pay them rent. They're responsible for you until you're an adult, 18. That does not entitle them to your money. This sounds bad, but I can explain. Me and my sister A are very close in age and get along very well. Me and A do not get along with our even older sister B. She has spread so many false rumors throughout our family and has always found a way to be a victim in every way imaginable. B claims that everyone's out to get her and she has never been held accountable. B, 26, and doesn't have a license, car, house, or valid ID. She moved across the country to get away, but still needed my mom to pay her rent. I could keep going. Last year, Sister A was trying to get pregnant, and Sister B was jealous after finding out that A was trying to get pregnant. So she started taking prenatal vitamins and texting A, taunting her, saying things like, "I'm older, I should get pregnant first. Let's see who gets pregnant faster." And every phone call she had with my mom, she would joke that she might be pregnant, constantly sending pictures of the vitamins as if it were a race. When B would visit, she would bring a bunch of dollar store pregnancy tests and leave them all over the house so everyone could see. B never ended up pregnant, and A had a baby boy. Fast forward to 2 months ago. B FaceTimes A in the middle of dinner and is just holding up a positive pregnancy test with a smirk on her face. A hangs up because they never got along to begin with and doesn't know what B wanted her to say. B later calls my mom saying that she's pregnant and doesn't know what to do and that she doesn't know who the dad is. She started meeting men off Tinder to get pregnant. My mom is worried and doesn't know what to think and starts talking about maybe B should move back into the house. Less than 24 hours pass, and I ask my mom if B is going to the doctor, and my mom is going to say she lost the baby, almost crying. B claims that she took another pregnancy test and it was negative. Therefore, she had a miscarriage. Now, she buys pregnancy tests from the dollar store and is overweight, has irregular periods. In my mind, this is obviously a false positive and common sense. I can't even be sure that the first test was truly hers because she would lie about it. When my mom told me she lost her baby, I couldn't keep a straight face. She just really blew me with how far she would go for attention. My mom went off on me and told me to go away. In those 24 hours between tests, she reached out to 2 of our cousins, who were also pregnant at the time, and announced her pregnancy to them. B never spoke to them and has also talked crap about them, but ran to them to tell them about her pregnancy. Now B is sharing posts all over Facebook about having a miscarriage and is joining miscarriage groups. From my understanding, pregnancy isn't confirmed until an ultrasound. Am I the a-hole for not caring? Is this truly a miscarriage? As a woman, I would say yes, but knowing B personally, I just can't accept that it was ever real. Not the a-hole. I think B has some sort of problem. She sounds entitled and only wanted to get pregnant in order to take the attention A was getting. Also, using Tinder to get pregnant is a horrible idea. Not the a-hole. I don't know for sure, but I think even if you have a miscarriage, you still have hormones, so it should stay positive for a couple of days. Pregnancy isn't confirmed until an ultrasound. This is totally untrue. Some women don't even get a scan until 12 weeks, and you can confirm pregnancy from 4 to 5 weeks. And regardless, it does not negate someone's emotions around losing a baby. Someone being an awful person does not mean that they cannot be upset about a miscarriage. I've had an early miscarriage. It is absolutely possible for a test to read positive, then negative a few days later. Usually it would be a fainter line though, but I guess it depends on the test. I don't think that you would be an a-hole for being over your sister's behavior, but your complete dismissal is also based on assumptions. After considering, I'm going to go with everyone sucks here. Backstory. So I, 28 female, have a rather large family, i.e., cousins, aunts, uncles, etc. We are all very close and are usually each other's main support systems. The parent generation started what we call a family fund in the 80s, where everyone pitched in however much money they can a month, and it was saved in case anyone had an emergency or was down on their luck, i.e., lost job. It was there. Well, I am now in charge of the family fund. I track who puts in what, how much is in it, and calls a vote when a questionable request is made. My cousin K, 20 female, who is the baby cousin, and her boyfriend B, 20 male, have been dating for about a year and a half. Recently, B's car kind of blew up on them, so they have no car. K doesn't have a car or even a license. K sent me an email asking for a somewhat large amount of money, $2,000, to put a down payment on a car. Now, the fund has enough money, but they both work full-time, live rent-free, and don't have any medical, utility, phone bills. All of that makes me question why they don't have money, but that is none of my business. I called a Zoom meeting as I felt the family needs to weigh in on the decision. We voted, and of course the majority of the parents voted to give them the money. She is the baby, so they kind of gave her whatever she wanted her whole life. However, my generation, the kids' generation, my cousins, all voted against it, and there are more of us. We did, however, offer $500 to help a little, and K and B could make up the difference. Or we would lend the money, but they had to pay back the fund. This is where I may be the a-hole. K was visibly upset we voted against her, and she wasn't getting the full $2,000. She was also against having to pay any money back when no one else had to. Everything paid out was for legitimate emergencies. I'm a blunt person and was done with her sniveling and whining, so I explained what me and my cousins were thinking. I basically said that she doesn't have a license, the car won't be in her name, B isn't any part of the family, and the funds aren't there to buy her boyfriend a car. I then asked what if they broke up because she would have no claim to the car. Kay started crying. My aunt, her mom, went off on me in the meeting, calling me all kinds of names, including an a-hole, and my other aunt backed her up. My mom and most of my cousins say I just said it like it is, and that is why I am in charge of the funds. Even though me and Kay have always had a decent relationship, I've always felt a sense of, anger towards her for being a spoiled, selfish twit, since we were all kids. I'm worried that may have made me more harsh than I needed to be, but I can't tell. Am I the a-hole for saying what I said and not helping them with the full amount they wanted for the car? Not the a-hole. Process is, it is put to a vote. The vote did not go her way. You didn't decide. The family decided. Same as for everything else. And when offered a couple of compromises, based on what you said, you weren't cruel or harsh. You gave the valid reasons the family voted against the request. No more and no less. You may think she's a spoiled, selfish twit, but as long as you didn't say that that was the reason, or run around all the cousins and such telling them how to vote because of that, that's irrelevant. Not the a-hole. You made a sensible argument. There was a vote. End of story. She can complain all she wants, but she's not entitled to a dime. This is also why I try not to mix family, friends with finances. In my experience, it always leads to drama. Not the a-hole. You are exactly right. She has no license, so she can't drive the car. It would be in his name, so if they did break up, your cousin is screwed, and none of you could legally do anything because the money is a gift. She seems a little bit entitled. My 13 male. Parents are very religious and strict. They believe it's a child's job to care for their parents in old age and give up everything for them. Unfortunately, due to them being strict, me and my siblings haven't had the best time with them. We were never allowed at birthday parties, to go out with friends. Even school trips were limited as they were considered dumb in my parents' eyes. They always promised to take us places like Alton Towers instead of our school taking us, but never did. I understand that we're not entitled to any trips, and my parents are not obligated to send us to parties, school trips, etc. However, it gets really tiresome and boring just hearing of the trip when our classmates come back. My parents are getting older and wanted to talk to us about their financial situation and when they would retire. They dropped some huge bombs. They want me to get a home when I'm 18 with my own money, not go to college, university, and care for them. They also want me to work and give them shared access to a joint bank account that my paychecks would go into. They want my brother to go to university and get a degree of some sort and come live in what would be the family home. My brother said he wouldn't want to live with us, but my parents berated him and said he wouldn't have to pay rent, so he agreed. They want my sister to get married and also move in. They don't want her getting an education because they're essentially sexist and believe women aren't worthy of education. I was shocked and denied everything, and they told me it was my duty as their son. I went to my room, but now I'm conflicted. My parents have essentially sacrificed their whole lives to give us a life in England. They're from Afghanistan. I feel guilty now, and I'm conflicted. Would I be the a-hole if I didn't support my family in the future? Not the a-hole. It is clearly in your interest to separate yourselves from this toxic situation as soon as you can. Your parents see you and your siblings as property to be exploited. Get out. And do not be swayed by the likely replies you'll get saying you owe your parents something. You don't. You are not an investment portfolio for their future. Parents aren't owed anything from their children that they choose to have. I had children because I wanted children, and all the responsibility that goes with that. They don't owe me anything in return for my choice to have them. I love them and want them to grow up to do what makes them happy in life. You may come to a point where you have to just strike out at 18 and do what you want and deal with whatever the fallout is. Your parents' demands are completely unreasonable, not the a-hole. My cousin had been on a bit of a wild child streak and ended up in prison. She got out and had her daughter, which made everyone think she was going to get it together. Well, she didn't, and my aunt had to take over all the parenting duties to keep CPS from taking her away. My aunt is now in her 50s and not healthy enough to care for my niece, who has started acting out in the same way as her mother. My cousin flirts in and out of my niece's life and taken her back occasionally, only to bring her back to my aunt when she can't handle her anymore. She has been in juvie already, and it seems she is going the same way as my cousin. My aunt is running out of options as my niece runs around town, and she isn't healthy enough to drive around searching for her in the middle of the night. My aunt is trying to get the rest of the family to take care of her, but everyone refuses. My aunt is now pressuring me to adopt my cousin, who is 14. She doesn't mean legally, but to assume responsibility until the age of 18. My family is also taken to pressuring me, since it will mean the pressure is taken off them. Also, most of them have person problems, i.e. kids, and don't want my niece to ruin their kids while I don't have any. I absolutely don't want to. I don't want my cousin in my life, which will be inevitable if I adopt my niece. And my niece is basically my cousin on steroids. I have no idea how my cousin and niece ended up so ducked up. And I don't want to wait to see my own life be ruined if I have to take care of my niece. Hell, I resisted not getting a dog during the virus because I couldn't commit to one long term, so there's no way I can commit to a child. I get emails and texts and my aunt banging on my door semi-frequently, once a week, dragging my niece in tow trying to get me to let her in. I have literally been in tears begging them to leave me alone, but we all live 2 to 3 hours away from each other. Only my mom is telling me not to do it. My boyfriend noticed the craziness from my family and the midnight phone calls from my aunt trying to get me to come pick her up and asked what we should do. I told him I just didn't want to be involved, and he suggested we move. We've been thinking of moving for a while now, actually. His family is in Oregon, and I've been thinking of moving for a few years. His family has a house that they are trying to rent out, and we could try there for a few weeks. We do that, and we're now in Oregon. I know my family aren't going to chase me here, and it's quiet. We went back to Arkansas for a few days to pack up what's left and visit some old friends. Somehow, someone let it slip I was coming, because my aunt is at my door screaming at me for leaving without a word. My boyfriend calls his friend to come help us take the rest of our stuff, and we leave. I see my aunt drop to her knees crying. Now I feel horrible since she's such a proud woman. I've never seen her like this. I know what's best for me, not adopting my niece. But am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. Sorry you had to get run out of your own home to avoid all this crazy. But on the upside, Oregon is a nice place. Underrated wine country, too. Also, do try to find out who the rat is that told your aunt and cut them out like cancer. Not the a-hole. Your cousin's child is not your child, and not your responsibility. I feel sorry for this girl as her mother has clearly done a number on her. She may also be acting out because she feels like no one wants her. As tragic as that is, again, this is not a burden that you should have to assume. Not the a-hole. Do not give anyone your new address. Get a P.O. box a few hundred miles away, preferably in another state, and have your mail forwarded to there for at least a year. Don't post your location. Don't post a store or a restaurant close to you on social media, and disable the ability for anyone to tag you. Be clear with anyone that you trust enough with your location that they are not to share that info.